All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
And there you see it. That, my friends, is Drake Maye. Drake, what's his middle name? Do we know?
Drake Maye.
Drake Maye. Drake Maye practicing here at the Super Bowl for the Patriots on Wednesday. And first injury report comes out, and wouldn't you know it, Drake Maye was listed as a full participant. Shoulder injury. What shoulder injury? Nothing. Maye, clean bill of health. Robert Spillane, however, did not practice. More on him in just a little bit, and we're going to bring it out live here to Radio Row. John Zanis alongside, Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles, and this
you better
guy.
know him. You better know.
You better know Phil Perry, the mayor, the senator.
Whatever.
Is that what we call you? Senator.
Give me any. I'll take all the titles.
Yeah. Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, former colleague of mine, is here on the show, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things as we kind of rip through 2 hours of coverage. Hour 1 here, Phil's going to hang on as long as I'm holding onto his leg and not letting him leave. Then
it's getting awkward.
Yeah, it's weird.
Good thing this table's here.
This tablecloth is doing triple duty
today. Hour 2 will feature Barth and Brian Hines and what we like to call a crossover. Those guys are going to jump in. They're going to nerd out with Taylor and Mike and talk football. But we're going to talk about all the dumb stuff to start. But it's news and it matters. This is what I think is interesting, Phil. I've always thought the more you play up the injury from the Patriots' perspective, Bill Belichick at least would do this. When you act like nothing is going wrong, something is going wrong. When you act like something is going wrong, nothing is going wrong. So I know a lot of people are going to be doing victory. Like, oh, he's fine. He's full participant. It's great. But I think there's potentially a little bit of gamesmanship here, leaving him off the injury report altogether here.
So they're not leaving him off. So this is interesting to me.
It's a full.
The fact that he is listed
as a full participant
means there still is an issue, right? It's just not limiting him in practice.
Exactly.
Right. You are required by the league, if you are dealing with something that might impact your performance, to be listed on the injury report as a full participant if you took your full complement of reps.
Yeah.
So that wasn't happening before the Broncos game, although it was my understanding that he was dealing with a little something. He wasn't limited in practice. He wasn't limited in games. He was dealing with something before that Broncos game, obviously takes the hit, falls on it, and he ends up being limited through a couple sessions. Or really, I think it was just one session potentially officially limited because of the shoulder. The other, he missed entirely because of the illness, but he would have been limited because of the shoulder. Either way, this is good news for the Patriots. It's not all that surprising because he did tell us that in their bonus practice on Monday that he basically took all the reps that he would normally take.
Yeah, as he had said to Mike Reese, he felt he turned a corner, which means there was a corner to turn, which means there was something legit going on right now. Do we feel confident, guys, the further you get away from whatever it was that happened, whether it was an acute situation? I know some people had mentioned potentially that he had tweaked it even before Denver and maybe kind of aggravated something. We feel, what percent do you think at all this bothers Drake Maye, just based on all the information we have right now heading into Sunday?
I mean, if he's a full participant, you got to think that he's feeling,
Give it 90%?
Maybe 90 is a little bit high, but like 80%, I think that's a pretty fair number to put it at. And like you said, Phil, if he still is not able to throw with enough comfort that it's not on the injury report and it's not an issue, then there is something to talk about. And we've kind of, I don't want to say downplayed it, but it just isn't something that I've been terribly freaked out about because he has so much time. We saw him make one of his best throws of the game last week after the injury that David Chow put out where he kind of re-aggravated it. So I would say like
Taylor's
80,
nemesis.
85%.
Chow.
I actually met him today. He's nice.
I was like, you want to talk to Chow? He's like, that guy. Shit stirrer, rabble rouser. Chow.
I think the worry with the shoulder too, you look at last week, right? We hadn't seen him throw a day in practice last week. They shut him out the one day. They didn't do anything. He was kind of throwing the ball up in the air a little bit as a joke. And then the next day he wasn't out there. He was the DMP with what ended up being the illness. But when we saw him throw yesterday, at least in the social media video at practice, that told me that, okay, he's on his way and he's turned, like he said, a little bit of a corner here. And now that he is a full participant, again, if he's full today, it's Wednesday. They have 2 more sessions after this. Look, I never thought he wasn't going to play in this football game, but that's why I kind of feel 90% now. Yep. You're out there, you're ready, you're rolling, and now that he's full, I think that there shouldn't be much at all of an issue.
Well, and I can tell you that the team for really the last several days really has not believed that the shoulder would be an issue on Super Bowl Sunday. So, we'll see. It's still a right shoulder for a right-handed quarterback who's incredibly important to what the Patriots, will or won't be able to do against arguably the best defense in football. He is going to have to make tight window throws in this game, I think, for them to win. He might have to make a down the field throw or two in order for them to win. So obviously, you want that wing to be feeling completely up to snuff to be able to execute the kinds of things you'll have to execute specifically against this defense.
And you don't want it to be, we're not in the excuse making phase yet, but you don't want it to be that thing where it's like, well, he
was dealing with the shoulder. That's why this didn't work out.
It either is or it isn't a thing. And if you're going to say it's not a thing here, then Drake Maye's performance has to stand on its own. And so I know, Phil, you talked about it. You might have written about it as well today. The importance of you get to a Super Bowl this early in your career. It's hard to get there. And it might take a long time till you get back. But the importance of getting 2-1 and if not winning, performing at a high level, so you don't have that stigma of he's just that guy who got there, sucked, everything went bad, and this and that. It's like it is important to kind of not just the perception, but how it's going to be for Drake Maye going forward. He had an exceptional year. He's going to, at worst, finish second in MVP. But the way people are going to remember him is going to be based off of how he does here on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it could have massive ramifications for the next phase of his career starting next year. You guys, the young pups down the end of the bench here, John, wouldn't remember this. But you remember Steve Young when he won a Super Bowl, and he did this whole thing before accepting the Lombardi Trophy, where he literally took the fake monkey off his back and said, he's finally, I don't have to worry about this anymore, because every year that you don't get there or you don't win it, the pressure ratchets up when you are a quarterback of that caliber.
You don't want to be in the best player to not
exactly
do something category, and those guys are out there, and it becomes everything, and it becomes legacy defining. Doesn't matter the stats you put up or the Pro Bowls that you make.
And the more time that passes, it only makes things, I think, more difficult. It's going to lead to more questions from your fan base, maybe from your organization, maybe from your teammates, if you can't finally at the end of the day pull through and win that last game. So I just think, listen, nobody's going to come away from this game saying, Drake Maye sucks because he can't get back to a Super Bowl. I think we all probably will assume that he's going to be at least a good quarterback for a long time.
You say that, but some people will, because a lot of people, again, I'm not playing the chip on the shoulder, everyone hates the Patriots card, but everyone hates the Patriots. So there's a lot of people out there who want to see
if they lose this game, you think they're going to come out and say that they'll never get back?
They'll say, I told you Maye was overrated. They played no one. The competition sucked. There's a lot of reasons beyond, how difficult it is for your career going forward for Maye to because the playoffs have been bad. There's a pressure on him here, not just for the stuff Phil's talking about. He has not been he's not been the version of Drake Maye we saw throughout the regular season, throughout the postseason. He lays an egg here. That's going to be 4 straight games, 3 of which they won, that he didn't elevate them.
I think that's fair.
He elevated them all year.
I think that's fair. I think the more rational onlookers, the more rational fans of the sport.
But you can't beat those guys. But they're not thinking rationally. They just want to say
no, and those people will always exist.
Yeah.
But I think most people would say he's a really young quarterback. God, the Patriots have their guy for a long period of time here, and they'll get back eventually.
Yeah.
Number one, you don't know that they'll get back, so you want to make the most of this opportunity. Number two, if you can make the most of this opportunity, boy, the trouble he's going to save himself 4, 5, 6 years down the line by having 1-1 where you don't get those questions of, is he good enough to – he's really good, but is he good enough to win one? Eliminating that early in your career, I think maybe allows you to play a little bit more freely, maybe a little bit more confidently, and maybe it helps you reach whatever your ceiling is a little bit more quickly because you're not burdened with that kind of pressure.
What I like about it is that it sets a standard for Drake Maye's career, where I feel like when you hear a lot of the stories about Tom Brady and all the things that he did with the Patriots that set them up for success, it was really just not tolerating anything less than the standard that they had set early on in the dynasty that he was a part of. Maybe, obviously, he was not the star of those teams, but he still understood what it took to put you in that position. Mike Vrabel has instilled some of that in him. But even I think Drake, hasn't he been taking guys aside in like Saturdays or something? They're doing extra work, those kinds of things that Tom Brady has talked about in his career, where it's like, hey, if you really want to win on the margins, like it can't just be practice. You have to do a little bit extra. So from Drake Maye's perspective, I do like that. I think it will empower him as a leader and kind of have a different perspective on what it does take to win in the NFL. And then when you talk about the larger narrative, I feel like even like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, the guys who kind of have a reputation for, can't get over the hump, it took 2 or 3 years before people really started digging in on them, because when you're a young quarterback and you struggle a little bit, I do think most people will have some benefit of the doubt. Like Drake Maye was in a terrible situation last year. No one thought a lot of people didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. Yeah. Not only did they're in the Super Bowl, but if he does lose, and then it's a couple more years of, Drake's not really playing that well in the playoffs, then yes, the Super Bowl is like, we should have known back then, because that was the first sign of what was to come.
And I think too, it's obviously fairly obvious here, but the win is more important than the stat line and how he performs at the end of the day, because they've won 2 games here already. And John, you're shaking your head, but
look, I'm saying Matt Stafford was acquitted for his team not reaching the Super Bowl based off his statistical performances. He was flat out. Everybody shrugged their shoulders, said it wasn't Stafford's fault. So it's not just the win. I think he has to play well too. If he has another 3 fumbles, 2 of them lost, throws a pick, 123 yards.
But if they win the football game, nobody's going to remember that. They're going to remember, just like they're not going to remember the schedule that they had. They're not going to remember the opponents they played. Because at the end of the day, they won the football game. He gets that proverbial monkey off his back that Phil talked about. And then the next time he's gone to the big game, he's won the big game. Even if he didn't play great, he's converted with his legs. He's made plays on the ground as well.
You've talked to people outside of New England, right? Like, I don't think that's how people think. Like, people are going to hit him hard.
But people don't remember the stat. Aside from like a Trent Dilfer run to the postseason, people don't necessarily remember the stat lines and how guys played good or bad. They remember if they won the game. And then next year, after year 2, that's when you have your experience in the big game, and then your stat line starts to grow.
I see a lot of Tom Brady stats being thrown back in his face about some of his Super Bowl performances.
But nobody forgets the first Super Bowl win
against the Seahawks. Like, does anybody really think about the fact he threw 2 picks in that game? Well, the fourth quarter and what you do in the big moments and the plays that you do.
100%.
Well, because he won the game with those plays.
Right.
If they win the game in spite of Drake Maye, right, and there are no touchdown passes, there are no long. I think that's what's been really interesting about his postseason run. The passing numbers really haven't been there, but he also hasn't been a passenger to me. He's helped them win these games by making plays with his legs. The 3 touchdown passes that he threw against the Texans, to me, were all high degree of difficulty throws. Yeah. And so even though he hasn't been his best, he still has been a net add. Mm-hmm. When you look at what he's been able to do to help them win. So he has to do that sort of thing in order to avoid the conversations that John's talking about.
I think it's been kind of like an elite game manager, because it's like, you really don't say that. I mean, I know that's like
game manager plus.
I know that's a dirty word, but when you're in the situation he's in, where you have the great defense and you have the special teams, like the turnover, obviously these
call him a game executive.
Okay, game executive. But like the strip sacks are what they are. But like he hasn't thrown into as many bad windows, and you could also argue that some of that, like not wanting to do that, maybe is inhibiting a little bit as well. But I don't know. I just think that the fact that he is able to make, like, and they're not even just like 4 or 5 plays a game. They are, as Bill said, high level plays that show that this is a rare athlete who can outrun edge defenders and linebackers who should be faster than him, who he can put the ball right over Derwin James's fingertips for a touchdown that helps seal the game. So I think those are the reasons that I understand people don't like game manager, but he's making the plays he needs to make. And it's not like Rex Grossman plays. We're talking about elite high-level plays, even if they're not consistent like they were in the regular season.
And I think for this game, that might be the style of quarterbacking that ends up winning it.
Yes, sir.
This is the most reductive way to think about any football game, never mind a Super Bowl, and it makes me feel 100 years old as I say it. But I think this game might come down to which quarterback turns it over less.
100%.
I'm envisioning a low-scoring game that is dominated by 2 really good defenses, and whichever quarterback doesn't screw it up might be the one who ends up holding the Lombardi trophy at the end. So either way, either guy's going to have to make a handful of plays, but I'm having a really difficult time wrapping my head around a potential 30-27 kind of game. I don't see it playing out that way. So if you want to be your game executive, that might be what wins you the football game.
I would also, again, between the 2 quarterbacks, and again, not to take anything away from Sam Darnold, he's still Sam Darnold.
Oh, I don't trust it. I haven't trusted it all week.
I don't know if it's a who you trust less or who you trust more situation. If Phil, and I don't disagree with Phil's take at all. I really do think that might be part of it, because it might be a very low margin for error game here. You just can't screw it up here. And it's going to come down to which of these 2 defenses is going to mess up the other quarterback. Now, the thing everybody's talking about, the flavor of the week, is this thing called cover 6, which everybody has always known about and always known as a big deal and always known has given Drake Maye problems. Always. We've talked about it nonstop. Well, some people have. Taylor, tell the folks at home what cover 6 is and why it's bad.
So the tricky thing about it's bad.
Why should we be afraid of
cover
cover 6? Bad cover 6.
So, cover 6 falls into the umbrella of all the split field coverages that are very popular now. And the goal is really to force offenses to throw short, not get anything deep. Now, with traditional quarters, which is half of that split field look, that is where you're going to have, it's a lot of different things that you can do, which is what makes it complicated. It's kind of a match type of coverage where it is primarily zone, but depending on where the routes distribute, it can turn into man coverage, and you can actually add help to the opposite side of the field depending on the look you get. The other side is cover 2, which sometimes, in like a lot of this you'll see with Kayshon Boutte, the Chargers, one of the first teams to really start doing this at a high clip, was they didn't want to just let Kayshon Boutte take the top off on a go route. They would jam him and also have a safety over the top. And especially in long yardage situations, basically the way that the Patriots typically, they have their 2 in breakers to one side and they have their go route to the other. That's a coverage that makes it a lot harder for Drake Maye to hit those types of shot plays. And when you look at the numbers, I had them pulled up like a week ago. The Seahawks run cover 6. Their second most popular coverage. They run it at about 20% of their snaps. Only the Jaguars run it more. They're the only 2 teams that run it 20% of the time. And Drake Maye has been consistently bad against these. The only other coverage I can even think of that he struggled this much against was probably cover 0. But as the season went on, I think they started to find answers. But against cover 6, for the entire season,
numbers.
So he has 70 dropbacks. That's like for the 6th most regular and playoffs. Completion rate is a 60%. That's the 4th lowest among quarterbacks. Yards per attempt, 5.9. That is the 5th fewest. Touchdown interception ratio, 0 to 3. One of those interceptions, of course, was against the Chargers. It's batted up in the air. That's a wash. But he has no touchdowns against cover 6 defenses. Passer rating is a 54.1. That is the 3rd lowest among quarterbacks.
So, Phil, why do we think this is? Why is this based on Drake Maye's style of player, the Patriots offense? Why is this a thing that he's having problems with, and how do you fix it?
Well, the Patriots style of offense, we know. Josh McDaniels' offense, he's teaching his quarterbacks, whether it's Tom Brady or Drake Maye or anybody else, to read coverage, right? So this gets back to that pure progression versus coverage read. Yep. How do you coach the quarterback position argument? I don't know how often you guys touched on that this year, but it sort of became this thing where coaches were being asked about it, press conferences, players as well. And we did a whole podcast on it with Brian Hoyer, and he was great. But I think if you were in a pure progression offense, like, probably the one that Clint Kubiak runs, a West Coast style offense, you don't really have to worry about the coverage. You're not trying to read it. You're just going, this is my number one option here. Then it's this guy, then it's this guy. So, if you're a quarterback in that system against his coverage, might not be an issue. For a Drake Maye in a Josh McDaniels offense where you're trying to read it out, cover 4 can look like a lot of different, cover 6 can look like a lot of different things. It could look like cover 2, but then you turn and if you're looking on the quarter side, the other name for cover 6 is quarter, half, because you have 2 defensive backs on one side who are in theory splitting the field in quarters. Again, this plays out differently as Taylor described, depending on, your principles and what routes you're seeing, while the other half of the field looks like cover 2. Well, if you're looking at one side of the field and you think it's cover 2 and it's not, you might throw it somewhere you're not supposed to throw it. If you think, like that to me is sometimes the problem with it's why a lot of coaches don't want to teach the quarterback position the way Josh McDaniels does, is because you can guess wrong. And cover 6, I think, is one of those coverages that is hard to know exactly what you're looking at until you're in the middle of the play. And so you can make a bad decision. You could throw it into somewhere where you shouldn't. And, Drake Maye's also, this is sort of secondarily, but I think it's as big an issue. He likes to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 safeties deep, whether it's cover 6, cover 4, or cover 2, like all of those coverages are going to make those types of throws that this offense has really thrived off of for the vast majority of the 2025 season. If it takes those away, it takes you a little bit out of your comfort zone, makes everything harder.
And when you look at the times that the Patriots have actually had success against it, it's not when Drake Maye goes downfield. I went through all the cover 6 snaps from the playoffs. He has tried hole shots. That I actually think can work, because against cover 2, Drake Maye is lights out. The hole shots, I don't know if there's anybody in the league who's attacking them better right now. I get against the Chargers, he had one to Hunter Henry. There was another one that he missed, and then there was the one to Demario Douglas where he threw it a little bit high. So when he does go downfield, that's what he tries to do. Most of his success, though, has either come from short throws to Hunter Henry or Stephon Diggs, or checks downs to Ramondre Stevenson, because this is a coverage meant to take away your downfield route. So the smartest thing to do do. And Drake Maye spoke about this today, said every coverage has holes. Cover 6 is one of them. The hole is just to go short, right? Make it basically an extended running play where you just dump it off to Ramondre Stevenson and let him work after the catch. So I think there's going to have to be a level of patience to the way Drake Maye attacks this Seahawks defense. And also, don't be afraid to use your legs. If you see a wide open lane, the Seahawks very boomer bust against scrambles. They played quite a few scrambling quarterbacks like Brock Purdy, Bryce Young, some guys.
Jaden Daniels.
Daniels as well.
Had a pretty good day running the ball against them.
And a lot of it, I will say, was in blowouts, but it was also when quarterbacks had almost like a reckless abandon where they're like, I just got to move the ball. I'm going to get a little more aggressive and take shots. And that was when you started to see those stunts and everything. If they didn't pass them off well, or these edge rushers for the Seahawks, they want to cave in the pocket, Drake can get outside of that. So using his legs and being patient and taking your shots when they're available will also be key. Also, keep your eyes up when you're scrambling, Drake, because it was great. He did a great job of that during the regular season. Really haven't seen it much in the playoffs. I think that could make a huge difference.
Just really quickly, had a chance to talk to a couple offensive coaches about this cover 6 thing and about the Seahawks defense in general. And these are guys who coached against the Seahawks defense this year. You know, one area where the Patriots might be able to beat him, as Taylor mentioned, Ramondre Stevenson in the flat. Apparently, in cover 6, on the quarters side of cover 6, you sometimes get a linebacker who has to cover that flat. And so Ramondre Stevenson, bigger guy, but pretty light on his feet. And so if he can out leverage a slower linebacker who's got to cover a lot of ground out to the sideline in the flat area, that could be an area you want to attack. Horizontal routes on that quarter side again. So I'm thinking like Stephon Diggs on a slant, like, you know, or in combinations that include Stephon Diggs, inward breaking, moving horizontally. That could really help. Hunter Henry, you know, maybe up the seam. It just, I don't know, unless they know they're getting corners on islands, which the Seahawks will do because they trust them and they believe in the talent of those guys, and they'll even press, like in cover 2, they'll press in cover 2. Like they want to be physical. They want to be aggressive. They can be really sticky. They can be matchy when they need to be matchy, is how one offensive coordinator put it to me.
Yep.
And they can be airy when they need to be airy.
That one, what does that mean?
Airy meaning like they can
give it space and play catch
give a
coverage
little
almost.
bit more space and just keep everything in front and be a little bit lighter. And so they're just really well coached and they can change things up. Maybe you'll get Kayshon Boutte down the field when they do leave their corners on islands. I think to be able to get that, though, you got to run them out of those too high looks, get a safety down in the box. Now you've got one-on-ones on the outside. Maybe you can take your shot.
You guys are so smart. Do we believe that the Seahawks are going to roll this out if that's what everybody's talking about, everyone's expecting?
Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be hilarious if
right.
they just don't do it at all? Like Josh McDaniels has this elaborate game plan cooked up for cover, and they just don't see a single snap of it.
Which has happened. A lot of these game plans in the playoffs have kind of thrown them for a loop.
I remember Celtics, Joe Mazzulla's first season, everyone's like the Heat, the zone. They can't handle the zone. And then he coaches them up on how to beat a zone. And the next game they come out there, they played like 80% zone one game. The next game they come out, they played 3 minutes total. And it was like, and same thing, Belichick and the way that they approached the Rams in that last Super Bowl was something that McVay wasn't expecting them to do based on everything that they'd seen. So there could be a little bit of gamesmanship here in terms of like, yeah, you're expecting this. You're going to prep for it for 2 straight weeks. And all of a sudden you're showing them different looks. What's the concern there?
I still think if they look at the numbers that Taylor did, right, they're going to know that, okay, he has struggled against this. We do have to run it this way. And with the pure progression versus the coverage read conversation, I think that's been one of the more fascinating things we've seen in the league this year. If you want long-term success as a quarterback, I still think you have to read defenses and not just be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and not necessarily worry about it. Yeah. Now, early on in your career, you mentioned Clint Kubiak having success with these guys, even a Sam Darnold who a little bit of a reclamation project, struggled early on, but was able to garner it back and have success with a guy like Kevin O'Connell as well. Seattle's going to have to throw this at them, and I think you look at this, the way Josh teaches these guys. Long term, it's great for Drake. It might throw an issue at him in this one if they want to keep throwing it at him. I think they will.
I think what's really interesting about the Seahawks too is they're not necessarily trying to fool you with what they're doing.
They play their game.
You know what they're going to do. It's just when they do have those change-ups, they can really hurt you. When they very rarely blitz. They're near the bottom of the league in blitz rate this year. But when they do blitz, it's the most effective blitz by EPA per dropback in the NFL. But they're daring you to do certain things. They're going to live in 4 down defensive linemen with those 2 high safeties, and they're going to say, you can try to run the ball because we have 2 safeties deep, and that extra body that's normally in the box, he's deep, so you can't throw it deep. You can try to run on us, but we got Byron Murphy, and we got Leonard Williams, and we got DeMarcus Lawrence, who might be the best run-stuffing edge defender in football. And so, tip our cap to you if you can actually do it. We don't think you can do it. And so that's to me why it starts with the run game. If Ramondre Stevenson can be productive, then you can start to maybe throw the ball down the field a little bit more. But it's been really, really hard. They're the best run defense in football, and they don't even devote all that many resources to the thing because they're just so talented up front.
They're doing it in dime and nickel. And similarly, I mean, Houston was another, I'm not going to fool with what I do. I'm just going to play it. I'm just going to throw.
My guys are better than your guys.
And that's it. And so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And Mike, I'll ask you quickly. Were you a pure progression?
Pure progression, baby. Worcester State pure progression. We did do coverage reads early, and it was bad for me, boy. But then we had this. I forget the guy's name. Forgive me. But one of these local guys who brought in the pure progression was like, we called it rhythm read rush, where you drop back, you hit your back foot, you throw immediately if the rhythm route's open. You take your next hitch up. That's your second read. That's the read thing, and then the rush is your check down on the third, so that you looked at the field, you understood the coverage, and then you picked a side. And from there, you went through your pure progression. You didn't have to worry about disguises or changes because you knew the answers to the test on that side of the field with what the route combination was.
You can thank Bill Walsh for that.
I love it.
Footwork stuff, that's Bill Walsh.
It literally made everything so much easier. Not have to worry about all the BS they were throwing at you in the back end.
All right, we're going to flip it to the other side of the ball in just a minute. First off, we got to tell you about our sponsor. And of course, that is Prizepicks, and you're headed into the big game. We call it the big game here.
Yes.
Okay. It's your last chance for those of you who like to play Prizepicks, to make your daily fantasy picks. This is the place for you. Again, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. And again, lots of cool options on Prizepicks. You got free squares, promotions. You got to check it out. Make sure you go to the site there and you see the code on the screen. Download that app. Code CLNS. Get 50 in your account when you play 5. That's all you have to do. You don't have to win. Just play 5, get 50 instantly in your account. Lots of cool free features, early payouts. Your players get off to a hot start. You have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. You have injury reboot. Someone gets hurt. Don't worry. Prizepicks has you covered, and they'll take care of it. And again, I know a lot of people who play it like to play football. This is your last chance, but it doesn't have to just be football. You can mix and match sports. 2 to 6 player stat projections. It's all you need. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And one more time, we'll tell you, download that app. Use code CLNS to get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. Prizepicks, it's good to be right. Now, one of the things we have going on here at the Super Bowl is all of this crazy media, and you get to go and talk to the players every single day, and it's silly and it's
What's your favorite color?
It's tell me how many cookies Drake Maye's wife gave you and what your favorite. And again, you get a lot of that because you get a lot of media that isn't here and they don't cover the games regularly. Then you get people that want stories. They want to hear stuff. And people wanted Mike Vrabel to tell stories today. So they were asking him serious questions and personal questions and, serious stuff and heavy stuff and even lighter side stuff like barbecue. And Taylor's sitting there freaking out like, man, I got to get my football questions in. So here's what transpired earlier today at the Patriots media availability.
Around a lot. The meal was, excellent. A lot of those local establishments take care of the boys down there in Baton Rouge. So it was a big spread, a great meal, and I hope to go back there and hang out. And we had a good time.
Taylor Kyle's back row left.
Oh, hey, Tyler.
So the Seahawks, a lot of their big plays have come from play action. Conversely, you guys have been one of the best defenses against play action. What's made Seattle so effective when they use their run fakes, and what's made you guys so effective at stopping those kinds of plays?
All these human interest stories, and then Taylor just goes right into the nuts and bolts of it. I know. I love it.
I tried to time it well, but Stacey gave me the mic, and I was like, well, shit. I'll be the asshole.
Nuts and bolts Kyles. That's what we're going to call you now. Nuts and bolts.
He was itching to get in there, and he did want to talk about it in terms of Seattle's offense and how their play action. I know you guys are going to hit that kind of an hour too, but I did want to set it up because, again, the quarterbacks are so much the story, and as Phil said earlier, who's going to make more mistakes and this and that, and you've got the Sam Darnold factor here, and again, he's one of those guys where the last 2 regular seasons, he's just put up these numbers that, maybe some people saw coming, but he's been playing. He played this year at a pretty elite level, almost across the board. Certainly you saw maybe a little bit of a dip as the season wore on, but then he had that great game against Seattle, the comeback win in the regular season. And then obviously, against Seattle, against the Rams. And then he beats them in the postseason. So he's riding high here, but historically against the Patriots, and again, the caveat being it was with the Jets, he has been an absolute drooping mess, puddle, just disaster. And he has that famous, sideline clip there, Phil, where he's like,
seeing ghosts out there.
Seeing ghosts.
I can't believe you said that.
and he's got two of the great viral moments: the seeing ghosts, and then the mono. He's out indefinitely. Mono. So that's how his career has been defined to this point. But the mono doesn't matter. The seeing ghosts potentially does. If you've seen him react a certain way, even though it's been clear, this is, I think, what Patriots fans are kind of banking on is maybe our defense, maybe the Patriots defense can get him to see ghosts. Get that there's a version of Sam Darnold in there that isn't good. How do you get to that guy? How do you find him?
Yeah, he's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
The question is he there during the postseason, or is this just going to be one of those crazy hot runs from a relatively mediocre quarterback, a la Nick Foles, a la Joe Flacco, a la, I hate to say it now because I think this season has really kind of dinged him in his reputation league-wide. Jalen Hurts. We've seen Jalen Hurts look like the best quarterback on the planet in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And he's probably closer to mediocre than he is great.
He's in Tua land right now. Right.
So, he could just be on one of those runs. Sam Darnold just might be that guy for another week. But this year, he led the NFL in turnovers. He was 28th out of 33 quarterbacks in EPA per dropback.
All those crazy
pressure.
Passing charts in the upper right-hand corner is Drake Maye and Sam Darnold, in almost all of them.
A lot, especially on the deep passing stuff. He was incredibly efficient early this year, and he was in the MVP conversation. But you start to look at some of the numbers a little deeper, and for example, his non-play action passes this year, he's 23rd in EPA per dropback. So it feels like he kind of needs to be a little bit propped up there when you have to put him in true drop back passing situations. If the Patriots can get him into 3rd and 6, oh boy, that would be a boon for them. 3rd and 6 or longer this year. He was 29th in EPA. So there are situations in which he struggles, and he struggled this year. This isn't like a 6 years ago Sam Darnold. You have to get the guy from 2019. No, you got to get the guy from mid-season this season. So he's in there somewhere, and I just wonder if that is sort of an intangible thing that separates these two teams, even though for both quarterbacks, I think their performances are pretty unpredictable. Drake Maye's been the way he's been in the postseason. He's young. Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. He's a walking roller coaster. We don't know how these guys are going to perform. I think there's one team that really believes in its quarterback, and I think it's the Patriots. Mm-hmm. And I think the other team, based on pass rate over expected, based on the play action stuff, based on do they really trust Sam Darnold? He's coming off the game of his life in the NFC Championship game. Not a quarterback on the planet, that wouldn't have loved to perform the way he did in that game. I just don't know if that's the guy. Is that the guy the Patriots will see on Sunday, especially if they can pressure him? This is where I think Milton Williams is really dark horse MVP candidate kind of player in this game. If they can pressure him, I think you get bad Sam Darnold, and I think that's how the Patriots win it.
I think it's actually going to be Barmore in this one because Anthony Bradford, their right guard, that's, I think, where you're going to see Christian Barmore line up a lot. Especially, I don't think this is actually going to play a fact in it, but Mike Vrabel loves him, some Christian Barmore. And Christian Barmore has been fantastic this postseason. I was pretty critical of him during the season. I thought some of the run defense was kind of shaky. The pass rush was kind of hit or miss. There are times where he ends up on the ground, the stunts and all those things don't work. But to your point, Sam Darnold's entire offense is built for him to succeed. One of the highest run rates in the league. They use play action a ton, and he doesn't really, or they don't want to put him in a lot of obvious passing situations. And even if the Patriots stop the run, they're still going to do it. They're not going to give up on Kenneth Walker. So I really do think the trenches are going to be big, not just in terms of getting after Sam Darnold, but also showing the Seahawks, you can try to run on us, but you're probably going to go 3 and out, and you're going to have Sam Darnold in 3rd and 10s. Is that really what you want to do? And before the show, I put up some numbers to see how Sam Darnold is when he has play action, when he doesn't. His passer rating goes from 124.7 regular season and playoffs with play action, 92.3 without it. Turnover-worthy play rate, 2.5% with play action, one of the lowest in the league. Spikes up to 3.8, which might not sound like a lot. That's almost a 1.5% difference. That's pretty significant. Also, when you look at yards per attempt, 11.1 with play action. That dips to 7.5 without it. So I really do think you got to stop the run, put him in situations where, hey, it's Sam Darnold's game. You want to beat our defense? Have at it, my guy. But that early down success is going to be huge because eventually I do think this is going to be a game where he pumpkins because you got Christian Barmore, you got Milton Williams, you also have Durden, you also have Kyrus Tonga. And when I asked Mike Vrabel about the play action, one thing he mentioned was, yeah, you want to panic, get back there, but also you just want to disrupt him. Don't give him time to take those shots and hit JSN and all the posts he wants to hit.
You stole my pumpkin line. That was next. No, I've been on the Sam Darnold's going to pumpkin this entire week, and I think too with the success that this Patriots front has had against the Chargers, against Houston, with some solid offensive lines, and then Denver, who was one of the best in the league last year, they were still able to get after Jarrett Stidham, able to get him off his spot a little bit. I think that's the key to this one. And in that situation, Darnold's either going to throw you one or he's going to tuck it, and that's going to put you in an advantageous situation either way. So I think that's the key, and I think they do have the advantage there in the trenches, at least with this.
What did the Patriots do that the Rams did not? Where's he going to find difficulty and challenges here facing this team?
Well, I think the Patriots secondary is a lot better. So what you might be able to do is just force him to hold on to it for that extra beat for Barmore or Williams or somebody else to be able to get home. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with, because I'm about to turn into a pumpkin, I need to leave, is I wonder if they'll steal from the organization's old defensive play caller, Brian Flores. Mm-hmm. I've been calling this not the blueprint, but get this. Is there a purple print out there for Sam Darnold? Come on, Zanis. Come on, don't roll your eyes at me. He's not
buying it.
Brian Flores blitzed the ever-living you-know-what out of Sam Darnold in Week 13. Over 60% of his dropbacks, which even for Flores, who is blitz-happy, is an incredible amount. 60% of his dropbacks, he was blitzed. He was pressured 11 times. Jackson Smith-Njigba had just 2 catches in that game. His quarterback rating, Darnold's was like around 65. So do they take from that and say, hey, we don't want to give you the time to complete these drop back, these play action passes, which are extended dropbacks typically. And we don't want you to be able to find Jackson Smith-Njigba down the field. So we're just going to make sure we get one-on-ones. We're going to make sure that you're dealing with pressure, and we're going to blitz. And we're going to blitz, and we're going to blitz, and we're going on early downs, first down, second down, third down, doesn't matter. We're going to send people at the line of scrimmage. That's what the Vikings did. And even though the Vikings lost that game 26-0, they lost that game 26-0. But offensively, the Seahawks in their passing game in particular was terrible. So if you can shut down that Seahawks passing game by using that Flores plan, that to me might be the key. Boys, I love you. Thank you so much for having me.
Prince. Do you want Maxx Crosby?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he's a good player. Yeah. He'd be really good.
We'll talk about him without you, but I just wanted to know you're on the board.
You guys are the best. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Phil.
I actually want to add to Phil's point also, because there's no Zach Charbonnet.
Phil, listen. Make sure you listen, Phil.
Well, there's no Zach Charbonnet in this game. That is typically the Seahawks' third down back. Now it's going to be Kenneth Walker and another running back who doesn't have a ton of experience. I believe he's a rookie. So I think that Zach Core is going to want to test Kenneth Walker. Say, okay, I know you're an experienced running back. You probably can, win sometimes in pass pro. Can you win consistently in pass pro if we're sending Christian Ellis with a head of steam right in his face? If we're sending Jalen Hawkins or Craig Woodson off the edge, and then he has to identify, it's not even just getting it done. It's seeing where the pressure is actually coming from and then actually blocking it up. I think Zach Core is going to throw everything that he can at Kenneth Walker and say, all right, you want to try to pass protect. We got a lot of guys coming from a lot of different places, and your head's going to be spinning.
George Halani, second season out of Boise State, and was Ashton Genty's back up there as well.
Zach Core, by the way, boy, has his stock risen.
Insane. I was kind of critical of him early in the season. He's been outstanding.
Unbelievable, just in terms of the game planning and the way he has his defense playing. And I have always, I do wonder, you see that stat, I believe, with Milton Williams, Christian Gonzalez, they're undefeated here. You really do wonder, because those are the key players, right? If you look at the 3 pillars of the Patriots defense, Gonzalez, Spillane, Milton Williams, if you had them all for the entire season, would we be talking about the Patriots as a top 5 defense this year?
Yeah, I think it's
because again the pass rush is still there.
Like the whole their schedule and
everything
everything
is an issue.
Yeah, like with the Drake Maye argument, I don't really buy that because I think they have played a few good defenses, and I know Bill Barnwell did a great piece that showed that like with Stafford and Drake Maye, they pretty much evened out when you looked at the defenses. Yeah. Offensively, they haven't played a lot of good quarterbacks. That's just the reality. When they play good quarterbacks, not a lot of good quarterbacks they play with good receiving cores. Hello, Josh Allen. And then obviously Lamar Jackson was hurt, had to lead the game. So they haven't really seen a Sam Darnold, JSN type connection. So I still think I think statistically they'd absolutely be top 5. They would be one of the best defenses in the league. But I also think that there would still be a lot of criticism and people saying, well, are they actually legit because they haven't played anybody? And again, run games, I think they played a lot of good ones, but passing attacks, they have not really been tested to the degree where I can go into this game saying, oh, yeah, I know what they can do. They're going to lock it up. I think it's going to be kind of a new test for them this season.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to roll on hour 1 of the Patriots Daily / crossover podcast. As we said, we're going to welcome in Alex Barth and Brian Hines for the second hour in just a little bit. Before we do that, we do want to tell you about our sponsor, Omaha Steaks. And again, I know
meat time.
The meats,
baby. Meat. And again, you're cooking up some stuff for the big game coming up for the Super Bowl this Sunday. There's no reason why you can't incorporate a few Omaha Steaks in there. And again, it's not just steaks. You get lots of different stuff in that, different food packages, different, mix and match ideas here. And who wouldn't love it if you might have a tough time going, I don't know if your grill can get hot enough right now in Massachusetts to go out and fire a steak. So you got to do that stuff on the cast iron, and that's fine. The reverse sear, I love that. That's how I cook them. I got myself a couple of food boxes, a bunch of USDA certified tender steaks. Did my little reverse sear. Where'd the B-roll go? I love looking at the steaks. I want to look at
my meats. Yeah, there's my meats.
Oh my goodness gracious! And again, whatever you have get in there now. You can still probably get this thing delivered to you before the Super Bowl on Sunday. But if not, New Year, you want to start it out. You need to get your protein. It's a great place to get after it right here. And again, the deal is great. There's a bunch of sales on the site at all times. But when you go to omahasteaks.com and you use the code Patriots, you're going to get an additional $35 off your order. So again, you might find some heavily discounted deals on the site. Plus, code Patriots gets you an extra $35 off. You can't beat it. Save big, gourmet gifts, holiday favorites, Omaha Steaks, $35 off when you use the code Patriots at checkout. Terms do apply. Once again, that's omahasteaks.com, promo code Patriots. We're going to get back to more game planning and matchup stuff, and particularly in hour 2. But I did mention with Phil, Maxx Crosby all of a sudden became a story today out of nowhere. And, this happens all the time. You get these weird flare-ups, during the Super Bowl and stuff. People just say stuff. There's so many people out here doing so much talking. And, Jay Glazer, I think, does a little media tour, and he says Crosby wants out of Vegas. It was like, oh, that's cool. And then Diana Rossini for The Athletic now?
Yes.
Just casually throws out, he's always wanted to play for Mike Vrabel, and everyone's like, what? So again, this isn't going to help you on Sunday, but that's an interesting thing. You have these names that are thrown out there. AJ Brown, he would love to play. Maxx Crosby would be. Again, you talk about Patriots' number 1 needs. You're not going to be able to address everything in the draft. You might have to go after, get something big, sexy if you can. Maxx Crosby would be perfect here, but boy, is that going to cost you.
And I'm not the kind of guy who's okay with just taking big swings like the Trey Hendrickson thing. I cannot stand talking about Trey Hendrickson because I never thought it was realistic. He's older. He's not the kind of versatile player that the system typically likes, and you'd have to probably give up a lot of capital for, obviously the Patriots are in the Super Bowl now, but either way, I never really thought that Trey Hendrickson was the kind of player that you spend big assets on, especially because of age. Maxx Crosby's 28 years old. He's a team captain. He fits what's going to be a significant need in the offseason because Harold Landry obviously has been very hurt this season, but isn't getting any younger. Caleb Chason might end up getting a bag somewhere else. Maxx Crosby also, if Caleb Chason stays, he knows Caleb. He's tweeted about Caleb when he has success. Everybody who has ever met or played with Robert Spillane loves Robert Spillane. I know he shouted him out as well, so there's familiarity, and everybody wants to play for Vrabel. Like now the Patriots are back on the map.
Drake.
And Drake.
You got that great combo now,
right?
Which is the difference. You go 2 off seasons ago, and what a mess that was. And because nobody wanted to play, no offense to Gerard, but Gerard Mayo, rookie coach, untested, didn't have connections. The staff, nobody knew anything. Nobody wanted to play for these guys.
Staff.
Inexperienced, fine. You draft a rookie quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be any good. there was no draw, and you just swing and a miss, and just a really depressing free agency. And again, this is a free agent, this is a trade. It's just interesting to have people want to play here. But again, the capital, again, I don't know if Micah Parsons is the blueprint for what it would cost to get someone like this, but you're talking about possibly a first and a second, and a crap ton of money.
And like you said, Taylor, too, that
you're okay to do that.
I'm fine. For Maxx Crosby, yes. And again, I don't say this kind of stuff very often, but
every
Maxx
time
Crosby,
we float trades out on the Patriots Daily Show, Taylor's like, no, I don't want to do anything. We needed to keep our draft capital. This one is different. However, it does turn into the 31st, 32nd pick now, potentially, which you might have to pay up a little more. You might have to add a little extra, juice on the back end of it. Wanted to throw this out there on the Maxx Crosby situation. Don't think it's going to make a difference. Was Maxx Crosby one of the guys smoking cigars after they fired Josh McDaniels? So
Thayer Munford's here.
Thayer Munford is here. Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator. He's obviously not the head coach. And I feel like that could potentially be something that's water under the bridge when it's all said and done, given that everybody knows he's one of the best offensive coordinators this sport has ever seen. As a head coach, he's not great. I think Maxx Crosby and him could probably bury the hatchet on that one. But that's just another kind of wrinkle to the story if Maxx Crosby would want to come here.
In the other elements of the coaching staff, you have Mike Vrabel, who played your position and did it at a very high level. Yeah. Mike Smith, I also think, is a huge draw. I've asked Caleb. I love Mike Smith. He's great to talk to. He's very engaging. And also, all the players like him because of the amount of detail and expertise he's able to give them, like tips, things that make them a little bit more well-prepared for games. Caleb Chase has talked about that. So, if Maxx Crosby's going to call him up and be like, yo, Caleb, what's up with this Mike Smith guy? Not that I think he needs to. Mike Smith has a very sterling reputation in the NFL. Like Tamba Ali's, Darius Smith, people know Mike Smith. So for Maxx Crosby, I think it makes a ton of sense. You come to a team that's winning, that was just in the Super Bowl, that probably still does need that dominant edge rusher. And who the hell is going to dump? Obviously, he's probably going to get chipped a lot. But if you do, Milton Williams and Christian Barmore on the inside, that is an insane defensive line.
And I think it's you talk about the needs, and me, I'm a simple man. Receiver is always going to be at the top of my list, and I think it absolutely is there as well. But you're not going to deny that they absolutely need pass rush help, and they need somebody who's great there, and probably help other places as well. You're probably going to need another tackle. These are the three most premium positions in football. Okay, offensive tackle, receiver, edge rusher, which means you can't draft them all, and you can't pay them all. In free agency, you can't find them all. So you almost need to go at it three different ways. I think if you're going to try to take swings at all of these things, you draft one, you trade for one, and you sign one. And if someone's going to be available in a trade there and it doesn't cost you your first, or, it's a couple of seconds or a future, you got to look at it because you're in that year 3 window. Year 3 of the rookie quarterback contract tends to be the push your chips in season. This is where I think I can spend big.
Now I can afford a Maxx Crosby.
I'll worry about it later. Once you got the guy, and that's why it's so important to know that you've got the guy, which is again why I was so super into playing Drake early. Is you got to figure it out fast, because you got to decide: are we real or are we not real? You're real. You're in the friggin' Super Bowl in year 2 with a roster that honestly, still on paper, you look up and down and it's there's holes here. Okay, this is a team that needs help. It's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts for sure, and the coaching and the timing and everything has worked out perfectly for them. But they need more impact players, more playmakers across the field. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with giving up stuff here. Whether it's that or your alpha receiver, your true alpha receiver, I'll give it up here because you got to find him somewhere.
Is Alec Pierce a true alpha receiver?
I think for Drake Maye.
Yeah, I think so too.
I really do think that combination would just his career would explode. He already led the league in yards per reception. Was it 2
but that's your free agent to me. That's your pay number 1 money for a number 2, and I don't care. You got to do that. That's the game of the free agent thing. But I think that this is potentially worth it here with the Maxx Crosby.
They're at that perfect, like you said, cross section of the rookie contract, the coach being here, the Super Bowl. It's like we talked about it yesterday on the show. You don't know if you're ever going to get back here. Phil said it earlier too. The Super Bowl, it's rare air. There were too many expectations, frankly, on this team when Brady and Bill were here. You don't know if you're getting back here. You have the coach, you have the quarterback, you have the culture. People want to play here. Go push your chips in.
And if you think you're going to be competitive, those picks all of a sudden are totally different. Trading first-round picks when you think you're going to be, a bottom 5, bottom 8, bottom 10 team, totally different value than the pick 32, which some people will argue, anything between 20 and 50 is the same guy. You can give a first-round pick and go get somebody of value. So I would absolutely be for that. This is just a quick aside. You guys mentioned it doesn't like the Josh McDaniels situation, and he's a great offensive coordinator, not a coach. Do you believe there was a handshake agreement between Vrabel and Josh McDaniels? It's I don't even want to hear your name mentioned in any coaching searches this offseason, or McDaniels is just like, nah, man, I'm all set?
I think McDaniels understands his history, what, where he's at his best, and he already has the quarterback. I think it'd be kind of different if you didn't know, but you have a potential Hall of Fame quarterback. And we could say that because it's his second year and he's already in the MVP conversation and has been dominant in Josh McDaniels' offense, which, as we said earlier, is not easy to do. And as he gets older, he's only going to get better. Like, he's going to have all the answers he could ever wish for. And as he gains more experience and it becomes harder and harder to trick him, which it already is, then you're just talking about a completely insane level of pay potentially from Drake Maye. I think Josh understands that. And he's talked about his family a lot as well. And the element of that and kind of wanting to stay local. He's been here for a long time. So I just don't think and look, coaches have egos. I don't want to act like it's never going to happen, but I would be shocked if Josh McDaniels ever takes head coach.
Are we sure the interest is there? I mean, it wasn't floated.
It will be eventually.
This
year,
but
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, this year it shouldn't be. And look, like I said it before, he hasn't proven himself as a culture builder. He hasn't proven himself as a head coach in game management situations. What he's proven is that he's a badass offensive coordinator, and that's why. Exactly. That's again. I've said that for a little while.
I know,
now.
but it always takes that Arrested Development meme. I don't know if you know it. It's just like, but it might work for us.
That's what Mark Davis did after the other two.
Does it. It's like there's a million reasons not, but it might. People just fool themselves into believing it's going to work.
No,
but it might work for us.
People will try it again, and at the end of the day, I understand the family thing. I understand the long-term job security thing and working with a guy like Drake Maye forever, but that itch is always going to be there. You're always going to want your own team. You're always going to want to do it on your own. And speaking of Josh, he's always going to want to try and go win Super Bowls, or who knows, try and go win national championships as your own guy in the core of it. So this is still a good stepping stone for him, and I think it very well could be a retirement job, for lack of a better term. But if someone comes calling, he's going to answer, and he's going to at least hear it.
I think it's going to be like a Steve Spagnuolo situation, though, where, like, again, these are different jobs. Like, when he's an offensive coordinator, he can actually do the things he loves to do. He has time to do that. He can focus on that. We have seen, even if Josh McDaniels does a 180, where he is like a completely different person, and the version of him that we see now is who he is as a head coach. He's more like Mike Vrabel than he was Bill Belichick, and he does grow. I mean, there is an element to that, but I also think that Josh just wants to be able to make the game plan. He wants to be able to work with quarterbacks. You cannot do all those things as a head coach. You have too many responsibilities. And Spagnuolo finally he had his head coaching stops, and then finally was like, I'm in a good situation.
I like this. I like the work. I don't like everything else that comes into it too as well.
And it's not like it's the first time he was a head coach. If he had only been a head coach once, I would think, he's definitely going to get that itch again.
Yep.
Bro, this would be strike. Isn't even strike 3 because the Colts count?
The Colts count. That's a strike.
Yeah,
he left them on the tarmac or whatever he did. Like, no, he screwed them, and I
at
think
the altar.
Yeah, exactly. That put a strike on his record. For sure.
No doubt about it. Last topic, we're going to head into this hour, and then we're going to change it over. Alex Barth and Brian Hines from Patriots Beat Podcast are going to slide in, and they're going to take us through hour 2 with Taylor and Mike here as we continue the conversation. Again, want to say thanks again to Phil Perry, who joined us for the first almost hour of this show. Thanks, Phil. More Hall of Fame drama. This isn't drama as much as it is, the Robert Kraft situation, came out on the heels of Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame. Robert Kraft also hasn't. I understand. We've seen the reports. We saw the story last year about, how, certain things didn't sit well with owners and panelists and this and that, and he keeps getting denied. And after the Belichick thing, people wanted answers. All right, which of you out there didn't vote? Okay,
right. Time
to stand up and defend it. Tony Dungy doing an NBC broadcast situation today. First question he's asked right out of the gate: did you vote for him?
I don't have to talk about that. Let's wait for the results.
We don't have to. The results aren't out, so I'm not allowed to talk about it.
So dumb.
Yeah.
You voted no for both, which is fine. It's your right. But if you're going to do it, explain yourself.
Stand behind
at this
it.
point.
What's the problem?
This is what kills me the most, okay? Just stand behind it. And when it's someone like Dungy, it just drives me insane because for him, it's petty. He's been on the wrong side of these guys so many times, and so has Polian as well, who turns out did vote for Belichick, even though he forgot. It's just weird. But Dungy's the one. Everyone was pointing at Polian, and to me, I was like, Dungy.
It's Dungy. Yeah.
He's the guy. Get him.
When they were coaching together? I don't know football.
Beef.
We had this conversation with Jermaine Wiggins on Pat's Daily earlier. That interview will drop later on this week on the channel. And Wiggy said They should commercialize it, and the NFL should monetize it just like they do with everything else. Put them in a room, the room they do, the 50 votes, and put cameras in every corner. And you have to give your vote, and you announce your vote, and you have to explain why. Yeah. That's the solution here. Because, again, if you're a voter and you're trusted to understand the game of football, your knowledge is good enough to vote on the Hall of Fame, you should
be audited.
Exactly. Yeah. It should be audited. You should want to stand by your decisions. You shouldn't want to stand behind
what were you
hoping?
hoping?
What's the point?
And the Belichick thing, I do think the lack of transparency probably was, and I liken this to sometimes in the Senate when a dominant party, there's going to be a vote and one senator wants to make look good to their constituents and vote no on a Republican bill that's going to pass anyway, knowing it's going to pass. It's just a protest vote.
Totally.
I want people to know I voted no. I think everybody did this with Belichick, not realizing so many of them did it. Like, oh crap, he didn't make it.
Maybe.
And that's what I think happened with the Belichick thing. Is everybody did the same thing. He's like, and everyone's like, no way, 11 of us are doing it right. I'm going to vote no because I feel better about myself. So. Yeah, it becomes these weird petty games that you're playing as opposed to just kind of like honoring the fact that you've been given this, this task that means a lot to a lot of people. And there's only 50 of you. So your vote means so much. This isn't another, hundreds of votes or baseball, right? 572 voters. Like, sure, you can be Dan Shaughnessy and find it cute and vote for Dustin Pedroia just for fun. Right. But if you're going to punish somebody, that's going to make an impact here. So again, it has to be for a good reason, and you should be able to stand behind it.
100%.
Yeah. Bothers me. Guys, want to podcast some?
Ready?
Walk on in.
Let's do it.
No one's going to stop you. Guys, I'm going to sign off. This is going to be very inelegant, but it doesn't necessarily matter. It's Raw. We're live here at the Super Bowl.
You want to throw up the changeover graph?
All right, welcome back. Whoa. Let's get this mic check. 1, 2, 3. Live crossover here. Welcome back. It is now officially, I don't know what you called the first half of this thing, with John Zanis and Phil Perry stopping by. Thanks to Phil. But we are now in full crossover mode. Patriots beat Patriots Daily. Alex Barth, Brian Hines, Taylor Kyles, Mike Kadlick going down the row here. How we doing, gentlemen?
Doing well. Excited for hour 2.
Great.
We are going to do hour 2.
Did you guys miss us?
Oh, yeah.
So much.
Yeah. We met us with those guys for a full hour. My goodness.
So let's get into the late news. I'm sure you guys touched on it briefly before, but the injury report is out. We haven't gotten the pool report yet, right? I just ran over here from Catch 22. So
no pool report, just the injury report.
Pool report. Okay. The injury report, though, does still include Drake Maye. I thought maybe the way he talked today, he would be off of it, but he was upgraded. He was a full participant, as was Joshua Farmer. Thayer Munford and Harold Landry were limited. Robert Spillane, DNP. So just a couple quick reactions, then I'll throw it out to everybody. Obviously,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you go from questionable to off the report?
Yeah.
Or do you have to be full for a day?
Well, you don't really go you usually don't have 2 injury reports leading up.
Excuse me, not questionable. Limited to full. I think you have to be listed as full the following day if you get it, right? You can't go from limited to off the injury report.
I feel like I've seen guys, like if it's an illness, limited with an illness, and then they're better, maybe.
Okay.
But no, the fact Drake is listed as a full participant's encouraging. Like, I'm 100%. Not reading too much into that. Speaking of upgrades, Mac Hollins now off the injury report. So I don't think there was any doubt he was going to play, but just a sign that he's continued to progress back from that abdominal injury. I thought this was, I think we talked about this a little bit on maybe Monday. I'm more concerned about Robert Spillane than Drake Maye at this point. And we've seen what this defense looks like with that Robert Spillane. Now, that was also without Milton Williams, who's obviously a key part in what they do. How did Taylor get the short mic stand?
I don't know, man.
Because Phil was
this
here.
thing in my lap. Okay.
Are you taller than Phil?
Me?
No.
I was gonna say, what's wrong with you?
Never answer that question again. Anyway,
Robert Spillane.
I'm more concerned with Robert Spillane, especially against this outside zone run, and you need that guy to be the cleanup crew on the edges and win tackles, and Kenneth Walker's a physical running back, and I mean he'd be a potentially big loss. He said today he 100% expects to play, but does that mean like 10 snaps at 50%, or does that mean the full game at 90%? Like, what are we talking about here?
He just re-aggravated it in the other game. So I'm very worried about Robert Spillane. I will say, I think
Taylor, real quick. Has it been confirmed that it's the same ankle injury that he missed time with, or is it?
I actually don't know, but the way that he reacted made it seem like that was a
sense
re-aggravation.
that it is. I'd been looking to see if it was confirmed. We should ask him tomorrow, but yeah, I was just curious.
No, that's fair. It was, when he threw his helmet, I was like, all right, this is a season-ending year.
We're running
something
around.
was wrong, and he kind of reacts to it again, like, oh, I just did this to that.
We're running around so much during the day, like I wouldn't put it past me to miss that. But anyway, sorry, Taylor, continue.
No, it's great. But Jack Gibbons has been very good when Robert Spillane's been out. I will say that. But at the same time, we've seen the impact that Robert Spillane has when he is on the field. Not even just in the run defense, but the communication, his intelligence, being able to tell guys what's going to happen at times before it even happens. Like Robert Spillane is an invaluable piece of this defense, and he's been fantastic. I know early season struggles because, frankly, I thought the defense put him in some pretty shitty positions that led to some big plays. I know. Remember the Miami game, but I'm very worried about Robert Spillane because if you don't stop the run for the Seahawks, then their play sheet is wide open, and that is a place that you do not want to live in because that's where Sam Darnold can cook.
I will say, look back, the first injury for Spillane was walking boot on the left foot, and that was same left foot. He was holding his left foot when he went down in Denver, so it looks like the same injury.
If not related, like exactly, it's at least the same ankle, so you figure it was a little weaker coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any looking into the fact that he did say he's 100% going to play like that? Is that just overconfidence for somebody who's a gamer and a baller like Spillane is?
He said he'll play.
Right.
He didn't say how much.
It's the Super Bowl. He's a captain. He's going to be in uniform. I don't doubt that.
But we have seen them throughout the year. Like guys have gone from DNPs on Wednesday to that
Harold
playing.
Landry's like 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, but that wasn't really coming off of missing. Like I see him miss a game. He got hurt.
Like Harold Landry saying he's going to play in the Super Bowl. I think we all know that he's probably not going to play more than maybe a dozen snaps. And what are you even going to get out of him? And I'm not even being mean. It's just the guy has been battling for so long. Exactly. So, I don't buy too much of the Robert Spillane saying he's going to play. We don't know what that means.
Yeah, how much of that is like Vrabel? Vrabel there was one day he came in like after we got an injury update on Landry that he was like clearly, upset. And those two have been through a lot together. And I think there's an emotion. And I get it. But I wonder if there's an emotional element of like that's his like one of his first draft class. And,
I mean, they needed like a roster spot when Mac Hollins was active, and you could say like Harold Landry just played 11 snaps, clearly wasn't himself, and then he didn't play in Denver. So you think, okay, maybe they put Harold Landry on IR, but the fact I think the emotional ties they probably wanted him
wants to get him to the Super Bowl,
this and give him the moment on Sunday.
And like Mike Reese asked, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, if Harold Landry there was a chance he'd get shut down, and Vrabel was like, I'm not going to talk about that right now, which felt like probably should. But
So that's the injury update. We've gotten the Seahawks injury report yet?
Yeah, there wasn't. They had a couple guys with rest. Nick Emmanwori was limited with an ankle, I believe. I don't know if that's
is that new.
Is that new?
I'm not seeing theirs. I just know because Ernest Jones popped up on it last week.
We got it right.
All right, yeah. Limited was Charles Cross, the left tackle, Sam Darnold with the oblique, Nick Emmanwori with the ankle, Josh Jones, backup tackle.
Ernest Jones was full.
All right, so we'll see what Emmanwori popping up there because limited, when you pop up as limited out of nowhere, that can mean hurt during practice.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's what happened. Maybe they just wanted to get him some rest. He's an important player, but just
want to know who else was on it?
Remember that tomorrow.
Robbie Oots, limited. Neck injury, not good for a fullback.
Well,
Jake Bobo was full.
Robbie Oots is the kind of guy where like he injures the report. I remember I talked to somebody at Alabama last year when I was doing draft research, and I want to make sure Oots was declaring because he didn't officially declare, and I didn't know if he was going before the combine and invites were out. So I'm talking to this guy, and I just started asking him. I'm like, all right, like what can you tell me about Robbie Oots? Like what is he bringing to the table? War daddy. That was the entire answer. What can you tell me about Robbie? It's War Daddy. I said, what does that mean? He goes, that's the kind of guy you want to get behind. He dominates iron.
Okay.
That's a fullback.
Robbie Oots.
That's a fullback. He also a student of Bill O'Brien, who taught him about Mark Edwards, Patriots legend Mark Edwards. We'll do some more old school Patriots legend talk in a little bit because there were quite a few around today.
Larry, Jimmy Centers.
Can you do some homework and do some research on Larry? I'm sending you my article I wrote on him
before my football
We're watching
days.
Larry
Did you end up
Centers
talking to him?
film tonight.
He did like okay. So the what happened today? First of all, I talked to Lonnie Paxton. That was cool. I got to chat with Vince Wilfork a little bit. That was cool. Taylor, if you don't know, Lonnie Paxton was Patriots long snapper for the.
All right, now you're being rude.
I'm just you don't know Larry Centers, but you know Lonnie Paxton.
That is not the same thing.
One
Lonnie
is
Paxton, one of the best special teamers in history, and Larry Centers,
is one of the best fullbacks in history.
Checkmate.
Is he?
The
For his role, yes.
the first back of any kind of catch more than 100 back. Anyway,
Talk about Lonnie Paxton in the NFL film stuff. I've never heard them talk about Larry Centers. In my defense, that's where I got my.
He was
Lonnie Paxton gets NFL films credit.
Sometimes
He did the Snow Angels.
Yeah, that's
he
fair.
did the Snow Angels. Well, that's because nobody watches Arizona Cardinals NFL film stuff, and that's where Larry Centers was for most of his career.
Okay.
But so my buddy who works for EA was like, "Hey, Larry Centers was down here. You should go find him." And I was like, "I want to talk to Larry Centers. It'd be sick, especially because he's a Hall of Fame snub, and like that's kind of the theme of this week." So I saw him doing a radio interview, and I'm like, "All right, I'll wear it around a little bit." It lasted so long, I started to wonder if it was his show. And like, good for him. He's talking. He's giving them stuff. I had nothing against it, but I had to go do my show, so I missed him. But hopefully tomorrow, I'm going to try to track him down, or at some point this week.
We got Larry Centers film on
Do
right
I
now.
have actually? No way.
Yeah, you did.
Damn it,
Larry
no, don't. It was
Centers.
Oh,
way,
no.
yes,
Oh,
way
available.
too old.
I will find, Taylor, I will find you, or if people out there tweeted at him, find you Larry Centers film, specifically the pass catching stuff.
Okay.
In the past, like ahead of his time. Everybody gives LaDainian Tomlinson credit for being the first back to catch up, running back to catch 100 passes. It's only because a fullback did it first. Fourth most catches by a non-wide receiver in NFL history when he retired.
Okay.
Get him out of here.
This is
Xanis just fell asleep standing up.
John of all people taught me Super Bowl week is about finding things to talk about because there's only so much you can do on the game. So the student has become has become the master there. Larry Centers, because he played that position, was a big benefit. It's called a transition. If you let me finish. Larry Centers, by nature of playing that position, being a pass catcher, was somebody who benefited a lot from play action. That's going to be a big story in this game. Taylor,
That's a pro right there.
I asked a question about play action earlier. So you see if you let me finish, we get through it. Taylor's also a pro. Let's hear from Taylor.
You have to be able to transition. If you don't pressure and you don't time up the pressure with play action, again, they're trying to get people blocking at the line of scrimmage. They're trying to marry their run actions with this system, which as far back as I can remember in this system, and Clint's done a great job of marrying their run actions each week. It's difficult to prepare for. So you get linebackers that are now coming up to the line of scrimmage, opening up passing lanes at the second and third level, and usually finding ways to protect the quarterback with 7 guys in there. So big thing for us has always just been about transitioning and making sure that we're able to get back, we're able to panic when we're not pressuring, and that we're able to get into those throwing lanes.
So I thought with Taylor's question you guys heard in the first half of the show, and Mike Vrabel kind of, all right, scheme question after all the what did he call them? The human interest stories?
Yeah, human interest.
Not incorrect.
Is when I got the mic from Stacey. I had no control over that.
It was a good answer, though. Good answer. A little more wide you asked that question, and what'd you think of what he said?
Because when you look at a lot of JSN's explosive plays and really the deep completions for Sam Darnold, a ton of them are all play action, specifically JSN on those post routes where he can just take the top off the defense, and he has so many long scores as well. So that's the part of this game that really kind of freaks me out a little bit is, as I said earlier, if you can't stop the run, then the playbook and the menu is wide open, and that play action game is going to be huge. The Seahawks run it at one of the highest rates in the NFL. And the reason I asked about it beyond that is this is a strength versus strength matchup because the Patriots have been one of the best defenses in the NFL at defending play action. Brought up some stats a little bit earlier. Let me pull these up really
back
quick.
up because he left to go to the Larry Centers.
EPA offense play action, number 1 EPA defense play action.
I think
believe.
so.
Yeah.
So this was PFF's numbers. I didn't have the EPA in this chart, but for the Patriots, I talked earlier about Sam Darnold and his success on play action and how he is significantly more efficient with play action versus without. When you look at the Patriots pass defense versus play action, they've been outstanding. Yards per reception allowed, the 4th fewest. Touchdowns allowed, it's about tied for the 13th fewest, so a little bit more middle of the pack.
So
part of that is because of the red zone.
So, okay, that's what I was going to ask you, is how much of that is
a lot of that is the red zone and like some of the miscommunications, especially earlier in the season.
They're not allowing like big, long touchdowns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not really happening. Interceptions, they're tied for the 2nd most with 6. Forced incompletion rate tied, or the 7th highest in the NFL. Passer rating allowed just a 92.4, which is the 4th lowest. And actually, funny enough, Sam Darnold without play action, his passer rating is 92.3. So they're almost identical. So it's going to be a really fun matchup. As Mike Vrabel mentioned, part of it is going to be transitioning. What he means there is a transition rush, where initially you are playing the run, so you're 2-gapping, getting in their chest. Once you see the quarterback pull it, that's when you have to get a move. You have to get the whoever is trying to block you backwards. Whatever you do, you basically just have to go from being a run defender and transitioning to being a pass rusher. The Patriots interior specifically has been outstanding in that department. And then panic, which some people also call robot, which is when if you're a linebacker, you're Jack Gibbons, and you did bite on the run fake, you need to turn your back and look for anything coming over the middle of the field in your area. I know Jack Gibbons against the Bills had it was one of the craziest completions I've ever seen in that role, where he completely sold out on the run, then actually made it to, it was a flea flicker, I believe, got his hands up, and it just barely was a completion. So the Patriots are very good in both of those departments. We'll see which side gives out.
So part of it too, to me, and look, I know it's strength on strength, but you don't, even if it is a strength of yours, you usually don't want your opponent playing to their strengths. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's, can the Patriots keep the Seahawks out of situations where play action is the most effective, right? Like, this is an early down game. This is a game that's going to be 100%. Won on the early downs. And if you can get the Seahawks in 3rd and 7 plus, where they have to straight drop back, and those pass rushers, especially those interior guys, can just go right after the quarterback and not have to worry about the run and not have to worry about play action. It makes life a lot easier. So we'll move it to that from the play action conversation. Brian, do you think the Patriots can eliminate this, not by being good against it, but by removing the situations from the game where it's going to be at its most effective, or the Seahawks would be the most willing to call it?
I think they can. And another big part of that is stopping, the run game. As you mentioned on the early downs, I think that's going to be a huge key for them, is stopping Kenneth Walker, protect the edges of this zone scheme and not let them sync up the run game then to the run actions and the play action. So, Barth, you nailed it. Like, you want to get them behind the sticks. They're not a good team. The metrics drop off completely for Sam Darnold in those 3rd and 7 pluses, in those 3rd and long. So dominate the early downs, stop the play action, stop the run game. I think that's kind of the key for the Patriots defense here.
Keep them behind schedule. Get the rush going. Make Sam Darnold see ghosts again. I know we've talked about that a little bit, and I said earlier in the show, and I said it on every show, I'm not convinced Sam Darnold is going to come out and execute in this game. I see too much of Jet Sam Darnold in the back of my head watching those games against the Patriots to know that there is a pumpkin down in there somewhere. They just got to go try and get it out. So keep them behind schedule. Again, get the pass rush going, get him off his spot, and force them to, like you said, not be in advantageous situations to utilize the play action to their advantage.
And then on the other side of it, when it comes to the Seahawks defense, we didn't get to this yesterday. I think that's my bad. I misread the rundown, but it was still a topic today, so that's fine. Ooh, cover 6. Oh, nobody can beat it. How scared are you guys of the cover 6 against Drake Maye? Like, realistically?
I'm not really scared about it. And one thing I think is encouraging is you have 2 weeks to prepare for this, right? So there's a lot of time if Drake Maye. It's just the only reason that I really cared about this storyline is because when you look at the numbers, cover 6 is the only scheme that Drake Maye has consistently struggled against. Earlier in the season, or kind of towards the end, we talked about cover 0 a lot. That was one where I just did not think they had any good answers. It was a lot of throws that were outbreakers that Drake Maye was missing. And it felt like when they threw slants, defenders knew exactly what was coming and would jump them. They've been better. Cover 6, Drake Maye is 0 for 3, and his touchdown interception ratio has no touchdowns against it. Also, his passer rating is a 54.1. This is a Drake Maye who is pretty much at the top against every other coverage there is, and the Seahawks run cover 6 at the 2nd highest rate in the league. Only team that runs it more is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So let's add context that number, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
What is the 2nd highest rate in the league?
The second, what do you mean?
Like percentage?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the second. Yeah. It's 21.8%. It's the second most popular coverage the Seahawks run. The first is cover 3. Second is cover 6. So it's not like you're not going to see this. They are going to use it, especially in obvious passing situations, with the goal of, they love having Kayshon Boutte isolated to the outside. Well, to that side, we're going to play cover 2. You cannot take the top off because we have somebody protecting that area. Then to the quarter side, what it does, quarters is kind of misunderstood a little bit. It really is not the traditional prevent like cover 4 that people think it is. At its best, what it does is take away intermediate in breakers. And what do the Patriots love in long yardage situations? They love a crosser and they love a dig behind it. So you're putting your safeties and your defensive backs in a position to be aggressive and drive on those. And that's a big reason it makes it tough. And the only time Drake Maye has really had consistent success is with hole shots and when he just takes what the defense gives him. He's tried to hit the post. We've talked about that. Quarters is not impossible to beat deep. You can, but I don't always like Drake Maye, who's very good at picking his spots most of the time. I think he's forced it, like Kyle Williams against the Jets. That was one. So I just think a lot of this is going to come down to Drake Maye understanding like you're going to get a lot of this. We need to look at the entire season of where you struggled, where we think you can have success, what maybe we need to eliminate in terms of play calls or situations that we put you in. So I understand that like you're not going to see it every single snap, and maybe to some degree it's overblown, but I do think it is going to be a fairly significant part of this game.
I'll throw Phil Perry's comments earlier on the show in here as well. I want to give him credit and not totally steal his take, but the idea that Josh teaches coverage read versus the peer progression scheme that, has kind of taken over the NFL recently, where it's not necessarily that no matter the coverage, no matter what side you pick, there's going to be answers to the test, because Drake is essentially taught to read what's going on in front of him and read what the defense is doing, read what your safeties are doing, etc. So it's early in his career. They might try and throw, a couple answers or questions to the test that Drake might not have answers to. And so that's going to be the challenge here early on, is the fact that he's taught to, again, read it through and not just have these peer progression answers. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they will throw it at him. We asked that earlier. John asked if he thinks that, it's going to be a little reverse psychology here, and we're talking about cover 6, and then they just don't run any of it. I think they're going to try and throw it at him. I'll be interested to see how he actually answers, and if Josh is able to build and bake in those answers to this cover 6.
Brian.
I also just wonder, kind of off this, how well the Patriots are going to be able to run the football in this game, because the Seattle run defense, like all the metrics are very good. Like they're an elite run defense on paper and even watching them. But if you're playing cover 6, you're going to have the 2 high safeties, right? They play a lot of 2 high safeties, even if they're not in cover 6, cover 2, cover 4. They have the only team that runs more light boxes than the Seahawks are the 49ers. So a lot of light boxes, and they play nickel all the time because Nick Emmanwori. So are the Patriots going to put the 6-0 linemen out there and be able to maybe run them out? And then, Seattle's going to have to drop a safety down. And then we're not talking about cover 6 anymore. So I wonder if the Patriots will be able to run the football in this one.
How about I was really quick. That 6-0 line package is going to be a really fun chess match to watch, because at some point, like, it's physics. Nick Emmanwori is phenomenal. I'm sorry. If you have Thayer Munford on your side and he's the outside linebacker, that is not going to work.
I will say, Evan had the stat. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like they've been the most successful defense against 6 offensive line packages.
But people think they don't go to. People think they stay in nickel. They will get heavy. It's not a goal line, but they'll put like 6 defensive linemen up there, and that is where I think it's a fun chess match, because is Josh McDaniels going to do what he did against the Chargers, where they tried to come out in 6 offensive linemen? The Chargers came out in a goal line package, and they were like, oh shit, we can't do this. You didn't see it again until the second half, and when they did use it, they passed out of it, and that was what led to Hunter Henry's touchdown.
And did Evan didn't they play like a very low amount of 6-0 line?
Yeah,
so the numbers might be
it's a little skewed.
A little bit.
Speaking of the run game, though, Brian, Drake Maye's legs, big factor in this game, and I think this is a game where he needs to run. And Seahawks are one of the worst teams at defending quarterback runs, and they use one of the highest rates in the league of stunts and twists and all those offensive line games. And there's no quicker way to put an end to that than the quarterback running, because when you run those naturally, it creates escape lanes for the quarterback. And it's how many plays, how many times are you going to let Drake Maye break contain and scramble for 20 yards before you say, okay, we're just going to a straight rush. When you go to the straight rush, they still have good rushers looking home. It's going to buy you a little time. It's going to make things a lot easier on your offensive line, especially those young guys on the left side who have struggled with line games throughout the season. So shoulder be damned, whatever. Like, I think this is a game where Drake Maye's got to be a little more aggressive scrambling with football.
I agree. I think his legs are a massive part of this game, and they really have been for the playoffs, the whole playoffs, right? Like, he's made a handful of plays. Just go back to Denver, 2 weeks ago, a couple big scrambles. Really the only consistent source of offense outside of a couple of explosives to Matt Collins. So you mentioned the line games, and they don't blitz a lot, so it's a lot of 4-man rushes and the stunts and twists. So
there's nobody replacing those gaps.
I think there's definitely going to be some running lanes for Drake Maye to take advantage of in this one.
I think so as well. And the Seahawks have been very pretty boomer bust against scrambles. They've also seen scrambles. They've seen the most scrambles in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
Now, I will say some of that is also kind of skewed because a lot of that has come in the midst of blowouts later in games. But you also see plenty of times where, like, Cam Ward is one example. Cam Ward and Brock Purdy really were able to move the ball at times in some crucial situations. Not a ton, but a few with their legs rushing, specifically up in the middle of the pocket where we know Drake Maye is at his best. So I actually had the numbers. I pulled these up last week. Seahawks defense versus scrambles, their pass defense. 151 coverage snaps, that's the most. Total conversions allowed, 46, that's also the most. Total touchdowns allowed, 4, also the most. But they also have 5 interceptions. That is the most in the NFL. Combined sacks, they're tied for 5th. So literally quite boomer bust, where they're either going to probably have a big play or the quarterback can rip off a big one with his legs. So I also don't think it's just Drake Maye running. I think that's going to be huge, especially if the Seahawks are going to say, you're not throwing deep on us. Well, you're going to have to get back pretty far to do that. That's going to open up lanes for Drake Maye. But also, Drake, keep your eyes downfield. He did a great job of that in the regular season. For some reason, we really haven't seen it in the playoffs. And I think that's going to be crucial because when you put Ernest Jones, Nick Emmanwori, Drake Thomas in positions where they have to decide, am I going to keep backing up or am I going to respect Drake? A lot of the time, they're at least going to freeze or bite up. That's where you get like Stephon Diggs on his crossing routes. Oh, well, now he's wide open because there's no one that has any idea he's behind them. So not just running when you scramble, but also trying to extend plays with the intention of throwing when you have the opportunity.
There's also a finality to this game being the Super Bowl. Like, you don't have to necessarily fully protect yourself. Now, obviously, you don't want to be stupid and, dive head first into someone's gut or whatever. You know what I mean?
Lose the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on to the football. But, he might try and extend an extra 4 or 5 yards instead of running out of bounds. He might try and...
You're not saving it for next week.
Exactly. There's nothing to save. So, obviously, off-season injuries, whatever, that can happen. But there is, a finality to this game where it's all on the line. You're going to want to go out there. You're going to put your head down and try and run through somebody. And I think Drake Maye has shown that when he wants to, he has the ability to try and do
It's
something.
funny.
Don't lead with your right shoulder.
Right. And protect the football also
And
because
protect the
DeMarcus
ball,
Lawrence
but
is coming after.
it's funny. How many times did we talk about over the last 2 years Drake running where we were like, yeah, okay, if it's like the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, you do that, but it's not. And now here we are, and I meant that.
Break out the Cam Newton package in the fourth quarter.
I'm sticking by that at the time.
I'll just add to Taylor's last point about like the out of structure. Seahawks gave up the most passing yards out of structure.
Yeah, it's only like
allowed.
400 something, right?
I think it was like 460, maybe something in that area.
I would have if you just asked me, regardless of team, like, what do you think the most yards are given up by a team out of structure this season?
All year,
I would have guessed like 800-900 at least.
Higher than 400.
I probably would have guessed double that.
I mean, that goes back to.
I don't know how they define now. I know how they define out of structure.
That's also fair, but
it's like
460, 460.
Yeah.
But I mean, that goes back to how much
per
game?
27 yards. So you consider not everyone is going to throw on scrambles. That's like half your games. How many times are you actually taking the top off when you scramble versus you're just extending
like
and checking down?
170-yarder now that accounts for like 3 games.
But
so I think in theirs it's like they played like 5 or 6 scrambling quarterbacks.
Yeah, fair enough.
That goes back to training camp, right? Mm-hmm. Wanting to remain a passer. There's everyone's post-game story if he hits a big explosive out of structure. There you go, writing it for you.
I'm going to go off the script here a little bit as we round this out. A couple things not on the rundown. Sorry.
Go for it.
I asked
Larry Centers.
No, we did that. I'll ask the chat. What was the better off-topic conversation, Larry Centers or the meat thermometer? And if you put it in there with the super chat, maybe we'll go back to it.
The meat thermometer.
I asked this to Ben Solak earlier, and I'm just curious what you guys think, because let's have some fun with this. It's Patriots Seahawks, right? Last time these teams played, yes, in some ways that game was defined by the talent on the field. You had multiple Hall of Famers. Tom Brady painted his Mona Lisa in the fourth quarter. All of that.
Butler did it.
But it was also defined by 2 guys that people probably had to Google. And it was Chris Matthews, who had the greatest Super Bowl performance nobody remembers. Unreal. And nobody heard of him before that. Nobody's heard of him since. I think if you Google him again, the TV guy comes up, the news guy again. I remember like the week after it was the receiver. Yeah,
it's an old white man.
Yeah. And then obviously, so he had like the game, and then Malcolm Butler, who nobody really knew up to that point except me. I liked him in training camp that year. I did too.
I just was on the beat to prove it.
Fair, same. But I was still going to camp a lot back then.
I lived in New York.
Anyway, if there is and I'll start with Mike. This is a very Mike question. If there is a Malcolm Butler or a Chris Matthews in this game, the guy that sends people running to Google, running to Pro Football Reference to figure out who the hell he is, who is it?
Oh boy,
I'll go.
Like literally someone who you like might not know.
The above average fan doesn't know. Like the casual definitely doesn't know. Like we know obviously because we cover the team, but like even the step above a casual fan doesn't.
How
know.
about like Dearness Johnson, where
Kick return.
Kick return.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a
Kick
good one.
return, and also Terrell Jennings will not be in this game. He has officially ran out his clock on his injured reserve. So maybe Johnson has to come in for a few carries. If they don't trust Travion Henderson, he breaks one for a touchdown. Maybe he returns a kickoff for a touchdown, or even just gets them in scoring territory.
Okay.
Maybe Dearness Johnson.
Okay, it's not a bad one. Taylor?
Does Kyle Williams count?
He's top 100 draft pick.
Yeah,
That might be just above. So when we had somebody else, I forget the guy from Sumer Sports. I forget his name.
Sean?
Yeah,
Oh,
Sean.
Sean Simon,
So he
yeah.
originally said Milton Williams, and then I re-explained the prompt. And then he said Kairos Tonga. I feel like he's like just above that line.
yeah.
Like, so let's I don't hate it, but if you
Dig
go a little deeper, we'll let Brian go. What do you think about it?
one.
I mean, come on. Jack Westover.
That was I had
yeah.
two.
Like,
Jack
that
Westover
was the guy,
one.
like playing against his hometown team. Like he hasn't really, what is it called, 2 or 3 passes this year. Like maybe a little fullback leak in the red zone for a
They leave
touchdown
him
out of the
open in the
backfield.
flat, like
Or you know
who
he's
was it
out
against on the
wide.
Texans? Yeah.
So I'll go. Jack
I was going to
Westover.
do like a weird Barth take and say the one on each team is Jack
Bobo.
Westover, Jake Bobo.
Yeah.
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 We're going to get a Cam Schlittler moment. Taylor, you got one? I have another one, but Taylor, you got one? My other one is your guy. I'm kind of surprised you didn't go here.
Chiz.
My guy?
He's one of your guys, yeah.
Del
You go.
Pettis.
You go. I'm
Well,
not sure
we
where.
talked about they need to stop the run and they need to penetrate the backfield. The guy that plays the whole lot.
I
nasty.
was gonna say Durden.
So it would
actually.
be more of a Chris Matthews game. I don't think he's going to like make the Malcolm Butler play just by nature of position, but like gets like 3 tackles for a loss and maybe
Yeah,
they're in big
big
spots and
sack.
everybody's like, who the hell is Durden? And then they find out he got cut by the Jets and they're like, or no, the
Giants.
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 And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or maybe it's
Lawrence
Leonard,
Taylor. Or Leonard Taylor.
Same.
He's here.
Same.
He's here. Yeah. Okay. That was why I said that.
No, but Leonard Taylor, like everybody goes, oh, he got cut by the Jets, and now he's making big plays for the Super Bowl with the Patriots. That makes sense. So those are my guys. You got another one besides the defensive tackles?
Vidarian Lowe touchdown in the red zone.
That's like that's not gonna be a game winner.
You don't know that.
Fair.
Thayer
Flip that.
Munford
Save
touchdown.
that just
Thayer
in
Munford.
case.
Thayer Munford
touchdown.
touchdown.
Yeah, also be Thayer Munford,
That's
yeah.
the right one. Tommy DeVito.
Chiz.
People
If
know
Chiz
Chiz
isn't
here,
playing.
though.
Yeah, anyone on this show should know who
Yeah.
Efton Chisholm is.
I think Chisholm qualifies.
Yeah.
Because as Patriots, Malcolm Butler was like playing that year and he was making plays. We
Yeah,
knew
I
who he
guess.
was. It was like the casual fans didn't know he came out of nowhere. Efton Chisholm would be coming out of nowhere.
Chisholm going to be active in this game?
Yeah, he might not be active. He only has 4 catches here. I'll give you Chisholm. Chisholm counts for that.
I don't think he's gonna play.
He could be active, but I don't
active,
know.
but I don't think he's gonna play.
I like
Sad.
Durden. How about I'm just looking at the chat here. Elijah Ponder's a good one.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great one, actually. Oh, I actually did tweet that I think a lot more people are going to know Elijah Ponder's name after the Super Bowl
that's
because I think
literally
his
what we're
skill
talking
set
about.
against these tackles is rough. Yeah, no, that's good. I should have looked up the roster because my head just started.
So
spinning.
Elijah Ponder's a good one. Somebody said Ponder, Durden. Yep. Marte Mapu, maybe big plan
some special teams that could happen.
Austin Hooper, I feel like he's just above that bar. He's been
He's been
around
in
in
the
the
Super
league.
Bowl,
He's been a
yeah.
good player. Yeah. Charles Woods, if Carlton Davis gets hurt.
Schooler, does he count? He's an All-Pro, but he's
No,
a special teams
Schooler.
player.
No, all pro doesn't count.
Okay, fair enough.
Like it's got because if people go like he makes the play, people are going to Google him and they're going to be like, oh, he's an all pro. Like if they Google like Marte Mapu, they're going to be like, oh, where'd this guy come from?
Jalen
A
Hawkins.
video of Taylor
I
screaming
was
about
thinking
Marte
him,
Mapu.
but is he too? I mean,
think
he's had a
he's-
good year. Like,
Oh,
he
he got the Pro Bowl
he was
votes.
in the
No,
Pro Bowl,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
count,
probably
yeah.
just above that bar.
I still feel like if he has a pick, people are like, "What the hell? Who was that?"
Yeah, like I was talking to somebody else, said Craig Woodson. Like I don't think most people know who he is, but he's played like every snap for them this year. No, it's like Durden's a good one.
Does Christian Ellis count?
He's played. a Super
People
Bowl.
know about Ellis from that dark.
He
hit.
was
Yeah,
a
that's
special
true.
teamer, and he was a rookie, wasn't
No,
he?
they're gonna be like, oh, the guy who lit up Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Oh
made
yeah,
these
that's
plays.
true.
Dart was
Okay.
here today, Mike.
Damn,
All your
it's
guys. were
different
here.
because this is now a relevant team, so
Right.
we don't have like a
No.
bunch of dark horses on the roster. Really
Those
anymore.
those like depth defensive tackles are good.
Yeah.
Chisholm's good. D'Ernest Johnson's honestly a really good.
That
one.
was a
Like,
good
that's
call.
that's
Okay.
well done. Like a D'Ernest Johnson kickoff return touchdown would work.
I
All right,
think Elijah Ponder might be at the top.
Elijah Ponder's a good one
He's
too.
gonna
Yeah.
play.
Those like
Westover.
young in West. I had West or why am I blanking on the Texans tight end's name?
The
Texans?
Texans.
Yeah.
Dalton
Dalton
Schultz.
Schultz.
Remember against the Patriots when Dalton Schultz got left just all alone in the flat?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
one of those out of
Oh,
structure
yeah.
plays. Like if Jack Westover just finds half of the field to himself and Drake Maye gets him the ball, because the Seahawks kind of play defense like that, right?
Yeah.
Out of structure plays. And That Jack Westover would be cool. Give them their Cam Schlittler moment. Taylor has no idea who that is, does he?
Cam Schlittler?
Yeah.
Not a hockey player?
No.
Close.
It was close?
No, he pitches for the Yankees, but he's from Boston, and he beat the Red Sox in the playoffs, and then he took a massive victory lap about it. Yeah, he beat them to eliminate them. In his 15th career start or something. He did as a rookie.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Shoved.
Red Sox fans still. He was on the Bruins broadcast the other night.
Yeah,
Red
in
Sox
a Bruins
fans were
jersey.
He's a
furious.
huge Bruins.
He's a huge Bruins fan, and all the Bruins fans get away from my team. He's like, I still live in Boston. And they're like, no, don't claim that.
How about Schefter breaking hockey news today?
What did he break?
The Panarin trade.
Oh,
Schefter was on
Yeah,
Panarin?
to the Kings
For
for not much.
I did see Anthony Davis got traded.
low level or like
how's
a young forward.
How's
and
that
couple
Luka
picks.
trade looking, Evan? Evan liked the Luka trade.
He what?
I guess they still have Cooper Flag, but
That doesn't count.
One more thing I wanted to do here before we wrap it up. So do we forget?
Full report just dropped.
What do we got?
It's a lot of words. You want to just read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. New England Patriots quarterback Drake Maye was a full participant in Wednesday's practice as the team resumed its on-field preparations for Super Bowl 60 against Seattle. The second-year quarterback who injured his right shoulder during the AFC Championship game took all of the team's first-team reps during a 90-minute practice at Stanford Stadium. He had told reporters earlier in the week that he was feeling good, and that certainly appeared to be the case as the team worked through 7-on-7 and full squad drills and full shoulder pads. While the team installed much of its game plan during practices last week in Foxborough, head coach Mike Vrabel said his staff saved several elements of that plan so they would have new information to present to players in meetings and practices here in the Bay Area. That's actually pretty interesting because we've talked about how do you not overwhelm players but still make sure you're being thorough. So there's that. That was just me talking, not the full report. This was a suggestion from offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, who was coaching in his 10th Super Bowl as a member of the Patriots staff. No one has more experience than Josh with this, and he felt like that we needed to do something to keep them engaged and stimulated so they weren't looking at the same things for the second or third time, Vrabel said. Vrabel is taking that engagement literally. After practice ended, Vrabel pulled a group of interior defensive linemen aside for extra instruction. Vrabel even got down into a three-point stance to work with defensive tackle Corey Durden on pass rush technique. We're now talking about 36 hours being critical here before people come in, friends and obligations that come with this game, Vrabel said. Vrabel also said earlier today.
48 hours?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I guess he's keeping track. Team owners Robert and Jonathan Kraft arrived at Stanford with legendary Patriots receiver Julian Edelman. Like McDaniels, those three men are quite familiar with the Super Bowl preparation process, but it's all new or for most of Vrabel's squad. No Patriot remains on the roster from their last Super Bowl, and only 5 players on the current Patriots roster have prior Super Bowl experience. We've got some things to clean up, and then we've got to forge ahead, Vrabel said. We want to continue to keep the energy and the enthusiasm, but the execution is going to end up really helping us win the game.
That's just the injury report. You don't have to read that.
Yeah, okay. We're good.
Speaking of injuries, though, did
Great
you guys
job.
read the Seattle one? Wait, hang on. Breaking of injuries. You guys see? Speaking of injuries, you guys see the Seattle one?
No.
This is from the Seattle Pool report by Kaler. I apologize, I'm not pronouncing that. Kahler. And I'm just going to start reading in the middle here. Safety Nick Emmanwori was limited in practice on Wednesday with an ankle injury that he suffered during practice.
Oh, boy.
Like we
There we
discussed,
go.
the rookie safety injured his ankle while defending a pass late in practice. He walked off the field on his own shortly before 4 p.m. Several players and coaches went over to comfort him before he left. Quote, he had an ankle today. We brought him in to look at it, and we'll kind of go from here and figure out what are the next steps, head coach Mike McDonald said. That's the
huge.
story.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
That's
a
the
legit
story. The Patriot. Okay, Drake Maye took all the snaps. Great. There's your story. Reactions. Go.
Oh, us?
Anyway, yeah. No. We're doing the show. This is live breaking
This
news.
is live. Nick Emmanwori missing this game would be absolutely massive. That kid's a stud. He does so much for the back end and the the front seven, if you will, is that sort of tweener player. That he again, we've seen it all season long. He's defensive rookie of the year candidate. Will he win it? Is there anyone else in the conversation with Emmanwori?
Yeah, it's Schlesinger.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot about him. Okay, but no, he's a stud, and I think, like you said, this turns into the injury story of the Super Bowl right here. That's massive.
And then in terms of how that affects the Seahawks defense, so when Nick Emmanwori in their dime package would move over to linebacker, then you'd have Devin Witherspoon bump into the slot from outside corner. Tariq Woolen stays outside, but then Josh Jobe, who's their third cornerback, would be the one who comes on as the boundary corner. I've been saying I think Josh Jobe is a guy that they should try to attack, at least vertically. He's a very physical press corner. He wants to get 2 hands on you, disrupt your route, and he's very good at it. But if you can stack him, and like Kyle Williams, for example, somebody who's very good off the line of scrimmage, that could be a house call immediately. So I was honestly leading up to this game thinking of how do you get Josh Jobe on the field? Like, do you put out 4 wide receivers, and the Seahawks say, okay, we're going to match with our dime package, and that's where Josh Jobe comes on the field? Or like sometimes when one cornerback is missed time or whatever, Josh Jobe plays. But he plays a lot. He is competitive, but again, he is gettable. So, I mean, with no Nick Emmanwori, I think one, Pop Douglas against Devin Witherspoon, that vertical element I like a lot. That was another matchup I was kind of keying in on, especially in obvious passing situations. So obviously Nick Emmanwori in every phase of the game is an absolute monster. Like you said, Mike, the versatility he brings is kind of I don't want to say unmatched necessarily, but for a team like the Patriots have seen Derwin James, they've seen Jalen Petrie.
Kyle Hamilton.
I don't think Kyle Hamilton I think is still in that range. But like Nick Emmanwori is different. Even when I was looking at explosive plays to see, all right, how do they get over on Ernest Jones and like some of the guys? Because Nick Emmanwori has given up some of the most explosives on the team. When you look at them, a lot of them aren't advisable throws. It's like quarterbacks just barely getting the ball over him when he's dropping into zones deeper down the field. So again, that's huge. And also I think will create some more matchup opportunities that favor the Patriots.
I mean, I think you guys know the answer, but I think I know the answer, but just to kind of add to it, bigger potential loss. We'll bring it back to where we started the show. Nick Emmanwori or Robert Spillane?
Nick Emmanwori by a mile.
Yeah. I mean,
because Jack Gibbons is still a good player.
Well, Spillane's been the green dot. He's the leader of that defense. There's some more intangibles there, but no, Emmanwori would be. And we don't know. Like, so again, the quote from Mike McDonald, quote, he had an ankle injury today. I hate it when they say he had an ankle. Either say he had an ankle
injury.
Actually,
he had two.
He had ankle.
He had an ankle injury, or he injured his ankle. Yes, he had an ankle. He has two. But the quote from McDonald, he had an ankle injury today. We brought him in to look at it, and we'll kind of go from here and figure out what are the next steps. That's the quote from Mike McDonald. The injury from Kalen Kaler, who had the pool report. The one last thing I wanted to do, we'll do this real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Did we settle on what we're doing tomorrow? Are we going to try to go live during NFL Honors, do kind of a live reaction thing, or are we going to do our usual time?
What time does it start?
Can we bring them in here?
Who's going to stop us?
Security. The hordes of security that are outside.
They've never stopped us before.
Have you brought beer in here before?
This is my backpack. It could be water.
Well, either way, like
they haven't stopped us.
So
not that I would ever try to fool security. That would be silly.
Well, yeah, you're giving yourself away here, bud.
I'm not going to do it. I would never do that.
Since we're at the end of the show where everything devolves, the schedule for tomorrow is Drake Maye as a wide receiver.
Nice.
Wow.
Is he on podium?
Yeah, he's on the main podium.
Okay.
But there's a little, maybe a little hint into a trick play there. Tomorrow's NFL Honors. I don't know if we'll be on. We'll probably be on again before it. It'll be like right before, and things may break. What?
Did anybody see Ryan Leaf verbally accost David Chow today?
I wish.
Yeah, I saw the story drop.
God.
I didn't see.
I didn't know about that. Happened. Like he was doing laps.
I saw the
when did that happen?
at one point.
I thought I saw Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, I didn't see Leaf.
I gotta go check that
Damn.
out. Real quick.
Video?
Who wins MVP? Go down the line. Who wins MVP?
I think Stafford's going to win.
Of the league or the Super Bowl?
Of the league.
Stafford.
We're doing our predictions for the awards tomorrow night.
Matthew
Predictions,
Stafford. I think he's going to win it. Offense Player of the Year.
Drake Maye.
I'm with Taylor.
JSN.
Drake.
I think
the fact that he was the only quarterback on there kind of
it sucks because it's a further bastardization of the awards, because like now that the MVP is only a quarterback award, which it shouldn't be. Now it's like, okay, but if there's a quarterback that's also deserving, we can't leave him out. So the offense player of the year is going to become like the runner-up for MVP. And we're only doing the ones that Patriots are nominated for. Coach of the year.
Mike McDonald.
I think McDonald's going to win.
I think it's going to be Vrabel. I still think it's going to be. He won Sporting News. He won FWA. I still think it's going to be Vrabel.
I feel like I don't hear people talk about him.
I think because that one's considered the biggest slam dunk.
But I feel like people make pretty strong cases for everybody.
It's weird. That is one of the closest, and it's also the one I feel the most confident that Vrabel's going to win, or that the Patriots are going to win.
It's going to be like the remember Rick Porcello's Cy Young when he had the most second place votes.
Yeah,
it's going to be like whoever has the most second place votes is going to win based on how like the number and
in the last
counted.
30 years. Assistant coach of the year.
Josh McDaniels.
Do you need the? I can give you the.
Yeah,
Vance Joseph could win.
I know it's McDaniels,
having the time of his
Joseph,
life.
Flores,
Kubiak.
I think it's McDaniels. You take a second-year quarterback and turn him
whoever
into MVP.
Can they do whoever doesn't win Coach of the Year, their assistant?
Yeah, right. We'll get there eventually, Brian. Don't worry. Assistant Coach of the Year finalists are Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, Vance Joseph, Clint Kubiak, Josh McDaniels.
It should be Josh.
I think it should be Josh.
I think it's going to be Josh. I'm not
I wouldn't-
ruling out Flores. Like it's
No.
if you go offense, it's Josh. If you go defense, it's Flores.
That's fair.
And
I
we'll
think
see which way
Vance
they go.
Joseph
They
is
give
going
it
to
to
get a lot of
like
love.
that.
Would they give it to
They probably should. Yeah.
Flores though? Because the Vikings weren't like good this
Maybe
year.
not, yeah,
I
so
mean, their
maybe
defense
Josh.
was still good. but
Comeback player of the year.
McCaffrey.
It's going to be McCaffrey. They should, by
He
the
was
way.
actually right over there.
I'm just going to do this
He
rant
was?
again.
I love Christian McCaffrey.
It should be there should be a separate most improved player like the PFWA
Yes.
does, which
Yeah.
Drake Maye would have won, and he did win for PFWA. And then that leaves us with Rookie of the Year.
Ted
Schlesinger.
McMillan.
It's Ted. I think it's going to be Ted. They're not going to give it to defense. Oh, they do. That's
Don't
separate.
they do
Yeah, it's
offense
separate.
and-
You have to
Yeah,
get
so
a ton of
offensive
sacks.
Rookie of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Ted.
Ted. Yeah, I'm with you. Like Trayvon,
Travion had a case for a while.
Yeah,
he
he
had a
did.
nice season. It was kind of games in pockets to me.
He was like extremely explosive in the middle, and then it got to more he was being consistent, and then as we know, kind of in the playoffs, really late in the year, kind of regressed.
So there you go. We'll be back. We'll either do more NFL honors preview or reaction tomorrow, depending on what time we're on. We'll have a ton more. Got another Patriots availability. Got another. We'll get more, injury reports, pool reports, things like that. We'll get an update on Nick Emmanwori. What time is? They're after the Patriots. Mike McDonald's presser might be worth tuning into tomorrow to get some more detail on that, because I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about that. And for more coverage on all of it, everything from today, everything going forward, Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. Brian has more on patspulpit.com. I have more on CLNSmedia.com. CLNS Media. I have more on 95sportshub.com. It's a long day. I guess this lives on CLNSmedia.com, so I have some there too. Also, while I'm doing all of it, I just recorded Catch 22 with Evan, who will be on one of these days. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or Friday, but we're going to drag him over.
We're getting him on here.
So
Kicking and screaming if we have to.
it probably will be. Amit, Richie, great job behind the scenes. John as well, wherever he went. For Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles, Brian Hines, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next.